Hi, this is Joe again with another review. For the sake of this video, I'm going to be discussing the 2013 film Thor: The Dark World, starring Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman, reprising their roles from the first Thor movie, which came out 2 years earlier, and they recently reviewed the first Thor movie. Now I'm reviewing the second one. Of course, this is actually technically the third movie that the Thor character was in, because he was also in the 2012 original movie The Avengers, which I've also previously reviewed. So this is a continuation of the Marvel universe when you watch the A to B to C, kind of like all Universal Monster movies with the Marvel superhero characters. But this film does take place 2 years after the original Thor film, and they have made references to that. Now, the only characters who have come back from the original Thor film is, of course, Chris Hemsworth, who plays Thor, of course. Natalie Portman, who plays Jane, who is a scientist. Anthony Hopkins, who plays Thor's father. You also have Anthony Hopkins, Hannibal Lecter playing Thor's father. And you also have the guy who played Loki, came back in this film as well. This is the third time when Loki played, the guy who played Loki is in this cat movie. Same thing with Chris Hemsworth. The third time he's playing Thor, which we would do several more times with the other Avenger movies, and there's one other Thor movie which I haven't seen yet. So naturally, there's no review. I'm going to do a review for that one. But also for the movie, look for Renee Russo playing Thor's mother in this movie. Of course, naturally, Renee Russo from Major League and the Lethal Weapon movies, at least the last two movies that were made. So you have a pretty damn good cast in this film. Well, Thor: The Dark World, excuse me, it's my sinuses. It's not the virus, it's the sinuses, folks. What happened in this movie is that there was an old ancient race that was defeated by Anthony Hopkins, by Thor's grandfather, like 1,000 years ago. And after they defeated this ancient race who wanted to defeat the people of Asgard, they hid this item, this power source for them, and they hid it, they buried it somewhere, and for some reason, and you see in the movie, that Natalie Portman discovered this ancient power, and she's waiting for Thor to come back for 2 years, and she was doing some research in London, and with a lab with a friend of hers and an intern that her friend has, and they found out this crazy vortex thing in this old factory building in London, and you drop something, and all of a sudden, from like 50 feet up or something, and it vanishes. And so Natalie Portman figured this thing out, and it has to do with the versions of all the planets in the 9 realms, being lined up, and it happens once every 5,000 years. And this happens. So she finds out, and she ends up finding this power source, and the power source came into her body, and because she's human or mortal, and it's eventually just going to kill her. So you're not going to live through it, because eventually this ancient power is going to kill her. And so Thor's father and people of Asgard is trying to figure out how to save Natalie Portman, character, and how to get the power, or to separate her from this power source, which eventually does happen in this movie. Anyway, so of course, this ancient people are waking up because now the power source has been revealed. So now they're trying to get the power source back from Asgard. So they had this big battle stuff is going on, and Thor's mother gets killed, and so Thor has no choice but to take Loki out of the prison in Asgard to save Natalie Portman and to give the power back to them. I mean, somehow separate them, which separates Natalie Portman from this power source, which of course they do at the end of this movie. And of course they find out that Loki gets killed, I should mention, but not really. If you were, and I'm not going to spoil how I don't even know how he survives, but he does. He plays a trick on Thor, of course. He ends up surviving, and you have Natalie Portman does happen to survive what happens to her. I'm not going to say how she does, how they separate her, but she does get separated, and of course Thor wins at the end of the movie, and now he wants to go back and he says to his father, who was actually Loki in disguise, says, "Look, I'm not going to protect Asgard from staying here and accepting the throne and the next king. Because Thor was supposed to be the next king of Asgard, and so he says the best thing I can do is to stay on Earth and protect, the people of Earth from, like he did a year ago in New York." And they do bring up what happened in the first Avengers movie in this one. They do make references to that, because Loki gets put on trial because of what he did before. He killed hundreds of humans because of what you did. And he says, "Oh, I don't care because I want the throne because and he says, I'm not really your son." He says to Anthony Hopkins in the movie. He said, "Because I'm not really your son, I'm not really your son," and all this stuff. And meanwhile, you find out that Loki was Anthony Hopkins in disguise. They fool Thor at the end of the movie because he gives Thor permission to go back to Earth and go back to Jane, and who wouldn't go back to Natalie Portman? Now her politics is a little crazy, because now she wants to defund, like all the other liberals in Hollywood, she wants to defund the police, which, getting off topic, but her politics is whack, is nutty cuckoo. Like everybody else is in Hollywood. They're all crazy liberals who has been throwing a hissy fit for 4 years since Trump won, beat the Queen Hillary. But I'm getting off topic. But the movie itself, I didn't think it was that bad. But the problem, I know when this Thor movie came out, Thor: The Dark World came out in 2013, got a lot of criticism for it because they say it's not as good as the first movie. I didn't think it was as good as the first movie either, but at least it had a decent plot. The problem is with these Marvel Universe movies, and think, but that's been every Marvel Universe movie since after the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films are not that good, because they focus more on the action and they forget about the plot, and that's the problem. The Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire, at least they focus on the plot, and that's what made those movies good. Even though the third one is, of course, the weakest one of the three, but at least all those three movies have a plot. As weak as the third one was, at least it had a plot to it. Same thing, and the X-Men, kind of, especially the first X-Men movie, was I thought it was good, the first one. But it actually gets worse as the series went on, and they focus more on the action and they forget about the plot, and that's the problem. That's a problem, and Thor movies figures that problem as well. And the Avengers movies, I haven't seen all the other Avengers movies either, even though I have them on my DVR. Eventually going to get to it, I hope, and do reviews on. But Thor: The Dark World, I didn't think it was that bad, because at least I thought it was a decent follow-up to the first movie, because at least it picks up right where the other movie left off, pretty much. And it does have references to not only the Avengers movie, or the first Avengers movie, I should say, but it also has the references to the first Thor film, which I kind of like, because most sequels, don't have references to what happened in the movies. The Spider-Man movies did with Tobey Maguire, that they did, and of course, and if you blink it, you miss it. Some of the early James Bond movies with Sean Connery did have references to other films, especially within the first three movies. I'm talking about particularly Why Should I Love and Goldfinger have references to what happened in the first two films. They did do that. When you blink, you miss it in those movies. Same thing here. If you blink, you miss it. The references to previous previous movies. Because Natalie Portman makes reference to what happened. I saw you on TV in New York. How come you didn't talk? And so it's kind of clumsily apologized to what happened before. But same thing with Loki, and Natalie Portman just goes up to Loki and slaps the crap out of him because of what happened, because of what he did, Loki did in New York. But beyond that, this movie is not, it's not terrible, but at least it's a fun movie to watch, and that's why these movies are popular, because it's better than some of the other garbage that's out there. At least I think so. So that's my review of the movie Thor: Dark World. Please click on the video, please rate it, please subscribe to my channel, please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. You check out all my reviews and on my YouTube channel about RallyC.com, so WDY and then C.com. Homepage for my review of Chris Moore, and please check out all of his videos on his website. And before I shut off, I want to dedicate this video to two legends in Hollywood who just died this past weekend. One was, of course, Regis Philbin, of course, as a daytime host, was a TV legend. And the other one was Olivia de Havilland, who passed away this weekend at 104, and who was, of course, the last remaining surviving cast member of Gone with the Wind. She's the last one who survived, who lived. And of course, she just passed away at 104. I really would like to know her reaction to the backlash of Gone with the Wind, but I guess we're not going to find that out now. So I'm dedicating this video to the memory of these two legends, and one legend in television, the other legend in Hollywood. And thanks for watching, and catch you next time.